Welcome everyone to this seminar from Archbishop Ian Ernest in the Anglican Centre in Rome. The seminar was set up through my wife and I visiting Archbishop Ian on the 29th of September when we returned from Sicily. And we discussed works of themes of importance to promote the Anglican Centre and its ecumenical ministry when we met. I represent the Ripon United Kingdom Support Group for the Anglican Centre. I'm John Bennett. I represent a group of people and we support the Anglican Centre, usually with one project per year, as we're going to be doing next October in Durham. Tonight we're joined with the Friends of the Anglican Centre, with people from the Methodist Church, the connectional team, from the Franciscan Order, from the Catholic Diocese of Leeds and others, as we think about the encyclical that Pope Francis has recently produced, all about fraternity. And we'll be thinking about that with Archbishop Ian. We're joined also with Christians Aware, which is an international charity concerned with development education, which is based in Leicester. Archbishop Ernest, as we speak together, just to say a little bit about yourself, as former primate of the Anglican Church of the Indian Ocean and Bishop of Mauritius, I know we are both involved at home in ecumenical work and interfaith work on the island of Mauritius, especially in improving social and family relationships practically and interreligious education of young people. Now, as the director of the Anglican Centre and being an ambassador for the whole Anglican communion, you strengthen the role of the Anglican Centre as a place of hospitality and study. And we're delighted that tonight you will introduce to us something more about Pope Francis's encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, and its interfaith implications. Over to you and thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend John Bennett, for your kind hospitality and the words of encouragement that you're offering me this evening, and the joy of being with you, sharing on the last encyclical letter of Pope Francis. Dear friends of the Anglican Centre in Rome, good evening. It gives me great pleasure to be with you upon the invitation of the Ripon Support Group of the Anglican Centre and the international charity Christians Aware. I am deeply appreciative of this laudable initiative as it offers us a golden opportunity to reflect over the latest encyclical letter of Pope Francis. This document is a gift to the world as it allows us to seriously ponder on the state of the world and to consider the solutions that are proposed. Pope Francis, as a person fully imbued with the teachings of our Lord Jesus Christ, gives in this letter a clear and detailed analysis of the world's present situation. He does it with a spirit of hope as he appeals to each of us to learn how to love, to respect the other, and to hold his or her hand, even if he or she is different from me. This appeal to a greater spirit of solidarity reminds us of the words of the Pope uttered during the lockdown in March 2020. I quote, "We are all in the same boat," unquote. In his comments on this encyclical letter, the Most Reverend and Right Honourable Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, writes, I quote, "This is a truly ecumenical document in which Pope Francis cites Orthodox Patriarch Bartholomew, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He strikingly refers to this fruitful dialogue with Grand Imam Al-Tayyib to emphasize that the thrust of his argument, whilst rooted deeply in the Christian faith, is of universal force. He draws inspiration also from the writings of Mahatma Gandhi," unquote. To follow up on this comment, Pope Francis, in his spirit of openness, thus designs a pathway for reconciliation that gives birth to a fraternity that can transcend all barriers. This text, dear friends, is an exhortation to all spiritual leaders, to political and social leaders, to come out of their comfort zone. This is the only way that we can fight for the very survival of our existence. As I read through this letter and various commentaries, it is evident that it is a social encyclical that is of the same lineage as Rerum Novarum of Leo XIII and Laudato Si, written by Pope Francis himself. The first one condemns misery, poverty, and marginalization with the emergence of industrialization and develops a social doctrine for the church. The second one, Laudato Si, focuses on questions touching on environmental and social issues. It criticizes consumerism and irresponsible development. And Fratelli Tutti aims at creating an awareness on the need to promote a greater spirit of cooperation, of compassion, and mutual aid, as we are sometimes blind to the social evils of our time. One aspect which has caught my attention is that Fratelli Tutti is a text that can easily reach everyone. It exhorts people of the world to strive to be together and not only to live together. To discover the interfaith implications that Fratelli Tutti offers, I immediately wish to go to the opening words of Pope Francis as he refers to St Francis of Assisi. I quote, "Fratelli Tutti." With these words, St Francis of Assisi addressed his brothers and sisters and proposed to them a way of life marked by the flavor of the gospel. Of the counsel Francis offered, I would like to select the one in which he calls for a love that transcends the barriers of geography and distance. There is an episode in the life of St. Francis that shows his openness of heart, which knew no bounds and transcended differences of origin, nationality, color, or religion. It was his visit to Sultan Malik el-Kamil in Egypt during a journey undertaken at the time of the Crusades. In this letter, I am able to identify some key elements in what I would say are interfaith implications. There is one foundational aspect that we should not neglect. We have to firstly acknowledge that our primary mission as Christians is to propose the core message of the gospel, which relates to the love of God and to the way of life as proposed by Jesus Christ. The Pope mentions that service has no limits to it. The meditation invites us to ponder upon the parable of the Good Samaritan is a very powerful image. It upholds the help offered by a stranger who becomes the brother of the one who was beaten and left off dead alongside the road. It was the answer of Jesus in response to the question from a lawyer, who is my neighbor? The historic meeting between Pope Francis and the Grand Imam Ahmad Al-Tayeb on the 4th of February 2019 in Abu Dhabi can be described as a pilgrimage of Pope Francis, as the latter follows in the footsteps of St Francis of Assisi, who 800 years ago visited Sultan al-Malik el-Kamil. As he writes, the Pope refers to the meeting he had with the Grand Imam and qualifies the common declaration they made as a reflection born of dialogue and common commitment. I quote, God has created all human beings equal in rights, duties, and dignities, and has called them to live together as brothers and sisters. From the common declaration they made, some great themes have been developed and have been incorporated in this encyclical letter, Fratelli Tutti. A new aspect, therefore, is revealed as the encyclical letter touches on how interfaith initiatives are important. The document signed in Abu Dhabi lays emphasis on fraternity. There is nothing that can stand in for dialogue. All religious persuasions have the crucial responsibility and role to engage in conversations with integrity and respect. This will surely open doors for collaborative work that will hopefully bring into realization the vision for a world where justice, peace, and societal harmony prevail. It is good to note, friends, that Fratelli Tutti, as the Archbishop of Canterbury says, is a vision to which all can subscribe, even non-believers, unquote. This vision leads the way for the establishment of an ethical policy on solidarity. New forms of solidarity have to be developed, as we have to nurture a culture of communion. Aren't we members of the human family, brothers and sisters, inhabitants of the earth, our common dwelling place? This leads to another important aspect. This encyclical letter calls on us to look at interreligious relationships as a strong and influential means of affirming and providing a situation of solidarity. This definitely demands efforts and resources on us Christians as we reach out to become friends with all people of faith and goodwill. In this document, the Pope lays emphasis on the need to accept, on the need to welcome the other and to give dignity to the other. As he writes on the issue of migration, the words of Pope Francis are strong and with no ambiguity. I quote, "No one will ever openly deny that they are human beings. Yet in practice, by our decisions and the way we treat them, we can show that we consider them less worthy, less important, less human. For Christians, this way of thinking and acting is unacceptable, since it sets certain political preferences above deep convictions of our faith. The inalienable dignity of each human person, regardless of origin, race, or religion, and the supreme law of fraternal love," unquote. Friends, all of us have dreams. All of us have hope that we can give to our children a better future. As Christians, we trust in the prevalence of God's kingdom, which brings restoration to the world and where we can be liberated from the brokenness and wounds of a divided and wounded world. The vision for an ethical policy on solidarity set by Pope Francis in Fratelli Tutti points to the hope that can bring transformation to our lives. This spirit of hope that we possess as disciples of Christ takes us to be servants to the world. In consequence of, all Christians are invited to be and work together with men and women and young people of other religions to realize our dreams for a world communion where peace and justice kiss each other. Hope is an important element in all religions. As Fratelli Tutti informs us, we have to work together with all persons of goodwill for a better world. As I myself come from a multi-religious and cultural context, I can say that during my journey on the pathway to build up a greater spirit of solidarity amongst the people of Mauritius, I have been inspired by men, women of other religious groups, and have been encouraged by the vibrant spirit of hope that I found in them. Together, in solidarity with each other, we work relentlessly, especially on the national campaign of awareness on the AIDS pandemic in the late 1990s, and recently on fighting the evils of drug trafficking and abuse. It has helped in harnessing our energy to focus on what we have in common in order to support human development. This letter offers concrete avenues for action and pushes us to widen our actions with other religious groups. It invites us to be more inclusive and to listen to those who never have the opportunity to be listened to. Fratelli Tutti appreciates that through our own life experience, we all need to belong to a family, to a group, and a way of living according to our religious and cultural traditions. The danger lies when groups use culture and religious teachings to exercise control over the other. Then this particular group can retire upon itself, being convinced that it is superior to others. It is therefore important to encourage, my dear friends, encounters and dialogue. This will hopefully help in acknowledging that all of us belong to a broken humanity and that we need each other. This need was clearly expressed at the gathering of the world's religious leaders on the 20th of October in Rome. Together with Pope Francis, we prayed for peace and made an appeal to those who govern us to be instruments of peace and justice. All the religious leaders mentioned in their speeches how Fratelli Tutti is a gift to all, as it gives to one and all an encouragement to be together for the restoration of our broken world. Their respective messages brought hope to our hearts as the desire for fraternity and solidarity resounded in our souls. The words of Pope Francis call us to look at our differences and engage with them. I quote, "We have to see ourselves from the perspective of another, or one who is different. We can better recognize our own features. In fact, a healthy openness never threatens one's own identity. It is through community life that individualism and self-centeredness can be cast away." In a document compiled by a journalist, Douglas Abrams, known as the Book of Joy, it describes a conversation between Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. In this exchange on the need to belong, we learn how to build lasting happiness in a world locked down by a spirit of division and uncertainty. Their messages are relevant to us these days as we are facing an unusual situation where the whole world is hostage to a pandemic, and as we have to endure unforeseen circumstances that drive us on the brink of fear, helplessness, and hopelessness. Archbishop Tutu says that sadness is the main feeling that urges us to seek support and solidarity. It is in hard and painful periods of our existence that strong ties of friendship and mutual recognition are woven together, he says. Then the Dalai Lama continues by saying, if we open our hearts to others, and if we are enthusiastic to trust and to make friends, the need to belong then calls on us to build up a community life which is deeply imbued with a generous and loving heart. It chases fear, and from it trust emerges, unquote. This, my dear friends, is God's vision as described in Fratelli Tutti. This is God's vision for humanity, visible through us when we live justly and love kindness. This is what is expected when we are referred to as a faith community. As we see the need to engage in interfaith initiatives, as encouraged in the Pope's encyclical letter, we see the emergence of a few basic elements that would encourage faith communities to be more proactive. Number one, the need to celebrate diversity and accept it as a gift. Encouraging faith communities to promote within the family and educational structures a culture of mutual responsibility and acceptance that will bring about a greater spirit of solidarity and fraternity. Number two, the need to nourish through spiritual guidance and audacity and openness to go deep into our own selves and to reach out to the other. Faith groups have the ability to create an awareness of the needs of others. From there, joint actions between different religious groups can be created as they can bring about social transformation. Number three, the need to empower and equip our local religious leaders. This can help in building bridges of cooperation that would help all communities to work together for a better world. Number four, the need to initiate dialogue and projects to promote a greater spirit of solidarity and fraternity. It would be appropriate to affirm the diversity in which we evolve and to care for the stranger who happens to be my brother and sister. To conclude, may I say that it would be judicious to look at the practices in our own local context and assess how they can bring hope, how they can help us as citizens of the world, respective of our religious convictions, to make the choice that is crucial of our survival as men and women created in the image of God. I am deeply grateful to our Almighty God and Father for the immense potential which is found in faith communities. This potential, if properly used, can help in the transformation of the minds. Friends, may the following words which I quote from Archbishop Justin Welby on the relevance of encouraging interfaith relationships and how they can be a force for social good inspire us. I quote, "The work of faith groups done by local people springs out of the work of the presence of God, pushing, compelling, constraining people to love. It is only then that human dignity is preserved and humanity is lifted." Thank you very much for your kind attention. Good.
Thank you very much, Archbishop Ian,
Thank you
for leading us in those thoughts about Pope Francis's latest encyclical, which is so relevant to many of us as we listen to you. Perhaps I could ask you what differences you have found in interfaith relationships in Europe from your home situation in Mauritius. I'm sure there are similarities and differences and things that we could take to heart from your own experience there.
Thank you very much for this question. I come from a context where people have come to settle down on the island of Mauritius in the 17th century, and the Dutch were the first settlers. And from there, the French took over, and the British then took over in 1810. And when the French took over, many people from the west of France came to settle down in Mauritius. Then people from Madagascar, slaves from Madagascar and Africa came in. And when in 1810 the British conquered the island, we had indentured laborers from India, even from China. And today the population of Mauritius is constituted of people from European, African, and Indian and Chinese ancestry. So we all came with a dream to have a better life. And so with the rich potential of the cultural background of everyone, the religious background that each person brings, we have to build a nation. So since independence, we have tried to exploit the rich potentials that we have so that we can build up a nation. So interfaith relationships does not only go in having dialogues, in having meetings and encounters, it goes much deeper than that. We have to build up a nation where we are proud to be Mauritians and proud of belonging to a group of people who've got rich culture, rich religious values, which we can bring in together. And that's what we did. And in the 1995, we had the Year of the Family, where the government called on all of us to come and join hands together. And that gave birth to an interactive group of people coming from all backgrounds so that we could work on how we could live in harmony, how we could work together. And from there, in the year 2000, I was one of the founder members. The Council of Religions was found. And today we are trying our best to be, to act as a catalyst in the Mauritian nation. So when I came to Europe, it is a different story. We've got some similarities, but people have come to a nation which was predominantly Christian. And when they've come with their culture and their religion. And I would say the tension was there and is still there. But there are a lot of good initiatives that are being taken. For example, in Rome, people are being encouraged to visit places of worship of each and every one constituting the city of Rome. And I know the same thing happens in other parts of Europe. Then there are initiatives that bring people together to reach out to the most vulnerable, especially with the issue of migrants and refugees. And now starting with Pope John Paul II and being encouraged by Pope Francis, there is definitely a more, I would say, an approach that was getting everyone together to pray together and also to seek to have common projects together. And so in Europe, definitely there are still tensions. It's a different, I would say, an approach from that of Mauritius, but still there is goodwill. There is that willingness. But unfortunately, as you know, we have got people who are single-minded and who don't want to really be part of that great project of being of one race, the human race. But we've got to continue our struggle to strive to make our respective societies where justice and peace kiss each other. So my exposure now, as I am in Europe, gives me an additional bonus to my experience in interfaith relationships. Thank you.
Thank you, Archbishop, very, very much indeed, because that's an encouragement to all of us, whatever culture or background we come from. Thank you so much.
Very much.
And thank you for this evening. We do appreciate what you've shared with us, and that this project together, we pray, will bear fruit with people who listen and share. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. And again, thank you for your support. And let us now strive to make Fratelli Tutti a way of life. Thank you very much.